Welcome back to CineNerds, everybody. If you saw our last episode and you're still here, we want to say thank you, because that movie was trash. Thank JP for that. I don't know if he did that on purpose or set up. Don't really care either way. It was shit. So, I'm James.
I'm JP.
I'm Ryan, and welcome to another installment of CineNerds.
JP didn't pick this movie this time, so we're all safe. Ryan, what'd you pick this week?
I picked Michael Douglas's movie Falling Down, primarily because men of our age, as we've gotten older, like I saw this when I was younger, and it was just kind of a cool movie when I was younger. Now it's like a personal.
Relatable?
It's relatable. It's personal. It's got every element. It's basically Michael Douglas. Everything that he views wrong with the world and him being able to act out on it. Now, I might not agree with things he sees as wrong with the world, but I definitely appreciated his ability to act on them and move forward and just try and feel like a weight's been lifted off his shoulders. Didn't really go that way, but we'll explore that.
I can't even talk today.
It's because you had to watch that shitty movie last week. And you're still trying to get it out of your system.
Oh, don't get me laughing again. So, had you ever seen this film?
No.
Oh, it's the first time watch for you.
So,
okay.
What was your initial thoughts?
In the beginning, I was like, all right, come on, let's get going. And then once it got going, I was like, okay. Like, I did not disagree with his views on things. I can say that on pretty much everything. But like you said, like he acted, you can't react the way he reacted. Even back in '93 when this movie came out, you still can't react that way. Just like you can't react that way now. But I agree with him. You know, like it. How many times have we been to McDonald's and it's 10:33 and like you're like, I mean, you can at least ask, hey, do you still have any laying around? Can you make it? And half the time they're gonna go, yeah, we got you. But
I'm
like,
going to throw back to a previous episode of CineNerds. What was the name of the restaurant that he went to when he did that?
Oh, God, what was it?
Whammy!
Yeah, Whammy. Yeah. Whammy burgers, Whammy shakes, Whammy fries. Like, is it? But the thing is, like...
Chicken of the Cave.
I don't know what just happened. Was that one of the items?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the extended cut, he was eating the chicken. He said, it was bat, and he's like, it's Chicken of the Cave, and Anchorman 2.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Falling Down.
Well, we're talking about Whammy, and
yeah, okay, fair.
Yeah,
Chicken of the Cave. Now I got it. Okay.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, that was a deep dive.
There we go. Derail already. The Nazi gun guy. That was how those guys acted back then. They still kind of do now, but that's kind of how those guys... I knew a couple guys. Like, I met guys who acted like that guy.
So, I'll let you finish.
No. But, sorry. Like, as a whole, I mean, in all reality, the guy just wanted to go see his kid. But the wife also knew he wasn't normal. And it's better to keep him away. And the best part to me was the end.
Why?
Do you want to talk about that already?
No.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
Okay.
I'll explain why when we get there.
Okay.
That one part at the end made me go, ha, that was awesome. But as a whole, I mean, I thought the movie was great. And it really does show that even in '93 that the mental faculties of somebody who's under a lot of stress, trying to navigate through life, and just being done with everything.
So that era was when the phrase got coined, going postal, if you remember. And I felt like this was a good breakdown and representation of that because he had been laid off a month before, before this downward spiral. He had been lying to his mom, who he had to move back home to live with, saying that he was going to his work. He worked for the Defense Department. He's stuck in L.A. traffic. He's not going anywhere. He just leaves his car. And the movie starts, and it's basically his whole path to get to his daughter and his ex-wife. And the little encounters along the way lead up to a very interesting adventure. And there's a detective who's on the last day of his before retirement. It's his last day on the job, and he's getting tired of being told he's worthless, essentially. And he just goes down this path, he starts seeing a formula, or basically starts seeing a connection to different crimes that are happening through the city, and pieces it back to Michael Douglas's character. What's his name in it? William, is it right? I think he's William.
It's
or Bill. William or Bill. Almost positive. But anyways, as it unfolds, though, you start seeing this whole thing happen. And you mentioned the Nazi scene in the store. And I'll get to more on that later, but I was just kind of giving a little synopsis of it. Initial take, first time I saw it when I was younger, like I said, did not appreciate this at all. But, you know, when you're growing up and you have a filter, there are things that you think about in your head, things that you would never act on, never do. They're still there because it's human. But this guy, he acts on them. And so for me, now that I'm older and I've become, as we discussed in previous episodes, not the get off my lawn guy, but stop speeding down my street guy, he embodies that and takes it a million steps further just because it is imperative that he gets to his daughter on his daughter's birthday to give her a gift. So,
but he didn't even have the gift yet.
He did, and that the Nazi guy smashed it.
But he bought it on the way. He didn't even have it ready to go. I think honestly, the way I took it, because today, like I watched it this morning. Like I literally woke up and said, "Okay, I'm going to watch." I started it last night, and then I was like, "I'm going to fall asleep. I'll finish it in the morning." I took it as he snapped in the traffic and was like, "I'm going home. I'm tired of being at this. I don't even have my job. I don't want to go back to my parents. I'm going home." And then and it's his daughter's birthday. He's like, I better. And so the gift was almost like, this is my way in the door to go home. That's the way I took it. Because he didn't have a gift when he first started going. He had a briefcase that had a sandwich, a banana, and an apple or whatever in it. And that was it. He didn't have a gift in there. Because initially when the gang members wanted the... When that happened,
I think there's a two-part to that, though. I do think that I think you're right. He didn't have the gift initially, but I do think he was well aware it was his daughter's birthday. But he probably thought initially he couldn't see her.
He knew he wasn't
because of the restraining order. So the ex-wife had a restraining order on him.
Still send a gift.
Well, I'm wondering if he was like, fuck this, I don't care about the restraining order, and that's where that's spun. So he still had the intention to go there, but now he's snapped. And the traffic moment's pivotal to the whole movie.
I think that's what made him just go, fuck this.
So, my initial thoughts. I watched this movie when I was really young, when it first came out. I loved this movie even back then. I've watched it a few times over the years, and I've enjoyed it every time I've watched it. And every time I've watched it kind of a different time period in my life. So I think I've looked at it differently every time I've watched it. So when I watched it this past week, I kind of had a different takeaway this time. You know, I had the initial thoughts of when I was young. It was like, man, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? You know, why is he like this? Then as I've gotten older, I was like, I kind of get it, you know. And now watching it, today, or this past week, I still love the film, but I'm looking at it from a mental health point of view. I'm also looking at it from a parent that has been not allowed, for no reasons at all, not be allowed to see your kid. Now, I get that this guy is crazy, and he probably doesn't need to be around his kid. I also know the side and understand the side as a father of going to go get your kid and then told you can't get your kid, and the emotional stress that can put on you.
I like this version of you. I just want to say that. No, just hear me out. So you guys gave me grief, I think, in the first few episodes. You're like, wow, you have like an emotional connection to everything when you review it, and that's deep.
Yeah, so I can get the aspect of it doesn't really say other than maybe he was abusive, and I get that's not a good thing. You shouldn't, and I'm not condoning that in any shape or form, but it doesn't go into a lot of details of what all actually happened.
Right.
So with fresh eyes this past week, I kind of went through the motions of, if he's really just loves his daughter, he wants to see his daughter, he's not allowed to see his daughter. I understand that emotional turmoil that can make somebody snap to the point that this guy goes. And so I actually really felt bad for Michael Douglas's character this time around. I really felt bad. I kind of felt his pain because I've been there. I had custody of my son for a handful of years. He's over 18 now, but and in college. But his middle school and high school years, I had custody of him. But there was a time for a year or so there that he lived with his mother, and she made things very difficult for him and I to see each other. So with that being said, I understand the turmoil, the stress, the mental stress, the everything that goes with that. So when I watched this movie with those eyes, now it's like I really understand why this guy snapped. And at this point, this watching though, actually looking at it from that perspective, I don't agree with him this time. This time I watched it and I'm like, I don't agree with him, but I understand why he snapped.
So I'll give a different take on that, a hot take. I saw the other side of the coin. Typically it's in domestic abuse scenarios, it's the male hurting the female. When I was younger, my stepmother, my father drinks quite a bit, but he's never a violent person. He's very calm, keeps to himself. He's what it is. My stepmother would use this opportunity to get him riled up intentionally. I watched her slap him in the face over and over, and the third smack, because he was just sitting there taking it, her nail hit the corner of his eye. And all he did was put his hand up to stop her from hitting him and grabbed her wrist. And once he did that, she then called the police saying that he was doing it, he was hurting her, he was doing this. Now, in the police instance, in the police scene, when she's explaining to the officer the abuse scenario, she claimed there was abuse, and then in the same instance, he goes, well, what kind? You want to know more? He's trying to go deeper, which police wouldn't do that nowadays. But she couldn't give an instance, and she said there wasn't any. He didn't hit me. It was more I felt like he was going to be there.
Yeah.
And so there's those weird little blurred lines where I almost wondered if she was poking, because you don't get the clarity of it, right?
Yeah, and that was my issue, was you don't get that clarity.
Yeah, and so, but to me, she could have driven him to that breaking point by saying something he wasn't, and then him becoming the monster.
And that's what I felt this time. I felt like it was, and I'm, please don't misconstrue what I'm saying, because abuse is not okay. And if you're in that situation, you need to get out.
What do you call last episode?
And you need to, that's different. But you need to get away from the situation, and a child should not be in that situation.
No.
However,
or put a grown adult in a situation like last episode.
The takeaway I got this time with the lack of clarity on her behalf to the police, she said, well, he never physically did anything. He never did. I just, and she was never clear. So at this point, and that was my perspective, was I feel like maybe he was actually the one that was mentally abused to the point that he snapped. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of my takeaway this time. And I've seen this movie, like I said, at different points in my life, and I've seen it from a different perspective in different points in my life. And
yeah, we can admit, though, he had an anger issue.
He had an anger. Yeah, the dude was crazy. That's what I said.
Because I took it as he never did anything, but I see where her fear came from.
And that's what I was meaning by
the anger issue.
I mean, but do you though?
I did
but that's what I was meaning.
Until he
initially
snapped, you didn't know if that was it.
No, but you always know when someone's getting to their line, and then you always know you can figure out when to just go okay,
now
or not.
Some of those.
Look what happened with the Nazi guy. He pushed.
But some of those things too, to me, like as far as his little his comments that he had with the communists, and what was the other terms he'd say? He said all these different things about things that bothered him and people taking jobs from the Americans in the country. Like, he would go on those little rants. So I could see him getting heated about moments like that with the wife and being overly passionate about his opinions. So yeah, I guess I could see that, but there's also a lot of things where that's one of the good things about this movie is you're kind of left with that open interpretation. You don't know if it was something that was progressive, if it was legitimate, if she was imagining it worse than it was, painting him as something he wasn't, those type things.
I just think
it's definitely
anybody
there.
who gets out of their car and just walks away from a traffic jam and just leaves their car, but you're already like on a level that most people, like, no one's at.
But to that point, though,
but you have to be pushed to that point. I think. I think at some point, I've been there, and I hate to be the serious one this time.
You gonna leave the WRX?
You know what? There was a time in my life, no lie. There was a time in my life where I was so mentally beat down and so fragile in that aspect that, yes, I would have gotten out of my WRX and walked away.
And the moment preceding that, where you see, like, we talked about your fear of being in small spaces.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody's having a
he wasn't even in it.
So when somebody's having a panic attack or an anxiety attack, those things start closing in, and that's what happened in that car in that moment, I feel, because every sound was heightened, every instance, every aggression, everything was all piling in. The fucking fly that crawled in his neck, and
he was in park just trying to kill a fly.
I was just imagining in that moment, that was cool, because I was imagining being in the car behind him, seeing this dude just go ape shit in the car, swatting and trying to find a fly, and I'm like, whew.
I imagine, I would just, honestly, if I saw that, I would assume a bee was trying to sting him.
But those things leading up to that, though, like when he finally snapped, I feel like in that moment, he's like, fuck this, I don't care if there's a restraining order, I'm going to my daughter. I want to see my daughter.
Yeah.
And I also noticed, too, a pattern in his behaviors. He was not somebody who he didn't wish harm on anyone who was a good person. He didn't wish harm on anyone who was doing anything wrong to him. He was paying for things as he went along. He was just trying to get
their attitude.
No,
he didn't like their demeanor.
He was trying to make them see things through his eyes, even though it might have been a very skewed point of view. He was trying to have them understand where he's coming from.
He just wanted to go home.
All the way till when he crossed that line with the Nazi. Because he killed the Nazi, and you knew that like that guy had it coming.
And he even looked at the Nazi and said, "I am disagreeing with you. I am." He went out there. He said it's okay to disagree. He said this to the Nazi. The Nazi attacked him.
Yeah.
I mean, at what point does it become justified?
No, that was justified because he had him. He was trying to handcuff him. He was trying to,
But that was like, so we've talked in previous episodes about transitional moments and characters, and I feel like when he crossed that line and he killed him, that's when that line crossed, because all of a sudden you've got
it already happened.
Dark green. No, because that's when he changed his outfit. Dark green coat.
In his head, he's like, "Well, I just did it.
Yeah,
Like it's happened. It's time.
I
don't feel he went to the ex-wife's house to hurt her.
It's just like Philip and Flip. It's just like Radioactive Dreams. Transitional moments.
Let's not talk about that one.
I don't think he got out of his car to go home to hurt his ex-wife and daughter.
No.
Now
he just wanted to go home.
He
wanted
to go
feel
home.
Normality again.
Yeah, he wanted to go home. Now after he killed the Nazi, that was the change.
It changed.
I think at that point.
Now he's like, I'm seeing my fucking daughter. He kissed my ass.
Yeah, I think at that point, I'm seeing my daughter. Anybody gets in my way, they're going to die, whether it's my wife or whoever it is. I think that decision was made.
After he kills the Nazi and he's fleeing, he has another moment after the Nazi before he jumps the fence. Doesn't he? Where he's got the shotgun? Golf course. It was the golf course.
Yep.
Which was a great scene too.
Oh yes.
I love that because the guy's being a total prick going, get off my golf course. Actually, it reminded me of your love of golf. I thought you'd appreciate that moment. And he starts going on the terror. He's like, there should be kids playing here. It should be a playground. It should be this and that. And he's going on and on. And I was like, those are all valid points. But after he gets through that and the guy falls over with a heart attack, his pills are going in the water with the golf cart. He runs, he hops over the fence. Now, because we've attacked a golf course, now the police are finally coming.
Before he leaves, he looks at that guy and goes, "Where's your pills?" And he points at the cart, and he goes, "Well, now you're going to die in that funny little hat." Yeah, and
that was a good moment. You got something? No?
Keep going.
Okay. So
I do, but keep
the
going.
next scene was pretty interesting to me because you can take it one of two ways. It was he hops the fence of what's on the edge of the golf course into the backyard of it looks like a mansion with a swimming pool. The first person he sees is actually the gardener who knows that the person who lives there is out of town and he's just trying to use the pool and cook out a little bit. And he's got his wife and his daughter with him. And so
he had 2 kids.
2 kids, that's right. But Michael Douglas walks up to them and he's talking to them, and the people think that he's part of the security company. And so they're afraid they're going to get told on for being there. And all of a sudden, police cars start coming around because he just invaded a golf course with upper-class people who, of course, called right away. It's the first time you actually had police response, which was interesting. They all came into the area, though, so he pulled the little girl from the family with him over, and they all walked into where it was like kind of a hidden little vestibule area. And when they pull over there, you couldn't tell if he was pulling the girl to be like his safe getaway or if he was just making sure she was safe and pulled to the side.
I took it that way just because it didn't go anywhere else.
Oh, I think that was the intent.
The scene was, hey, let's get over here. I don't want anything to happen to you guys.
But Dad and Mom, when they saw him with her, I think they thought it differently. But I think that was intent from him.
And he saw the blood on the girl's hand. He's like, "Oh no, honey, I didn't." He thought he hurt her.
But there's one way to end this whole movie, and one easy thing. Why didn't the wife, when he started calling so much, just go somewhere else? Go to a friend's. Call a friend's. Instead of calling the cops 100 times to where it comes off like play wolf. I know it's the daughter's birthday, but at what point do you make that decision?
Yeah, I thought.
And I know it's a movie, so don't start with that.
I thought the same thing because I was like, I
first
understand
thing
the party's here.
Anywhere else you could go.
Yeah, I understand the party's there. It's her birthday party, and she doesn't want to leave. But the safest thing is she was that scared for her and her daughter. She should have left. Now, on the flip side of that, I don't think that she should have to leave her home.
No,
she shouldn't.
But common sense.
Here's the thing.
If you
leave your home, all you're doing is delaying the inevitable. He's still going to, if he's on a mission, he's going to get to her. So I think her making a stand and calling the police and the authorities was a good move.
No, I agree. But when the cops finally say, we can't keep coming out here to do this because you keep calling.
When the detective connected the dots there's a path because Michael Douglas is on foot this whole movie while he's going from instance to instance to instance of his outbursts and his trying to get his point across in his message. There's first starting off, his license plate said defense on it.
Defense.
D-FENS because he worked for NOTEC in the Defense Department in California, but he was laid off a month prior. So when the detective's piecing all this together, he goes back to the first store. The first store was a North Korean gentleman who owned the store with broken English, and he was selling things at a very expensive price. And this set Michael Douglas off because he needed change to call his daughter. He wanted to call home. So they wanted 85 cents for a can of Coke, and he just wanted change from $1. And he was like, now I can't make the phone call. And it escalated from there, right? And it goes on his rest of his path. So the detective goes back to that first instance because he's trying to piece everything together, and he happens to climb through the woods and up a hill and looks over. I don't know why he went that way, but he happens to look over at the place that the car was abandoned earlier in the day.
Well, because he was there. He was there and helped push the car out of the...
That's right.
Yeah, he
remembered it.
Yeah, he helped the traffic cop, and he saw the big billboard that he saw as he was waiting in traffic as well, and he's like, this is where I saw that car. And so he walked up there and saw defense that car and then followed the path down.
And from there, though, he just starts cheering defense. And so you kind of piece a little bit more together out of this. So you start to see everything come to a head.
Yeah.
This was way better than last week. Probably like it.
But
whatever.
You're welcome.
But last week's episode, I got to laugh. I got to laugh and have a good time the whole time. This time I had to get serious.
Fuck you.
Not only did he get to laugh, it was at our expense because he made us watch that just to shit on it with us.
It's all right. I made him watch Slumberland. I'll find something worse next time. For him, anyway. I'll love it. He'll hate it.
I actually think I know your next movie. I can give you a suggestion. Not now. We'll do it later. But
So, Robert Duvall's character, he...
Talk about him and his wife.
That's where I was going to go.
Yeah, okay.
The dynamic of him and his wife. He is a beat down man. This is
wounded
yeah,
at one point, and they're giving him shit for it.
Yeah, this is my takeaway from him. He is wounded
on numerous fronts, inner and outer.
Yeah, he was wounded at work. He was put at a desk job, but he requested this desk job because of his wife. His wife beat him down. The people at the precinct beat him down. He was just kind of a shell of a man.
So there's two falling down stories really happening here, but one is the righteous path and one is the non-righteous path.
Mm-hmm. And by the time Robert Duvall's character figures out the path of where defense is going, he kind of breaks from his shell that he's been pushed into, and he tells his wife, like, look, I'm going to go do this. I'm working. Leave me alone. Have dinner ready when I get home.
Put his foot down finally.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is at one point, Robert Duvall and his partner, they go to our former partner now, but they team back up. They go to William's house where he's living with his mom, and the mom that is putting up with him, she's a little mentally off herself, but she reminds me intensely of the wife, the Robert Duvall's, because they both kind of have that same offness, and they almost look alike too. So Robert Duvall, you can see how he handles mental illness and how he deals with it he sees her figurine collection because she just wants them to leave.
Yeah.
And he walks over, he goes, tell me about these. What's your favorite one? And tries to find a common ground with her, and that gets him in, and he finally can have that conversation. Yeah. So back to the mentally ill wife, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, he puts his foot down, and
the thing is, was she mentally ill or was she just power hungry?
No, they lost the daughter.
They lost a daughter.
That's right.
And
put her over the edge.
I forgot about that.
She was really broke down from the loss of their daughter, and I think really her intent with her husband was good, but she took it to the extreme because of the death of her daughter. So when he got shot in line of duty, she was so overprotective. She wanted him to retire. She didn't want him to go back to be a policeman. She just wanted him home, but she became so overbearing and overprotective that it's what was causing him to retire. It was what she was calling and say, just leave work, come home. He's like, no, I've got stuff to do. I'm working.
I mean, she did have a point. It's the last day. But the thing is, he had a point to prove because everyone was against him.
Everyone was shitting on him the whole time,
except for what's the. I'm assuming that was his old partner.
Yeah, and the mentally ill portion of the wife, I do want to talk about that a little more. So, like, to me, I see her as definitely being off a little, but I think it's a
concern.
It's concern, but what's the word? Separation anxiety. I would go with because she's already lost a child. She almost lost him, and all she wants is him to come home, so she doesn't lose him too, because she probably wouldn't be here. Is the way what I'm guessing.
Right.
And so she's almost crying to him and whining, and he loves her and he wants to stand by her. And the way he even conveys that to the partner, and saying, "I love my wife. She means everything to me." Like that was deep. That was intense. And so you could tell like that there's a reason behind him. He didn't care about the pension. He knew he was losing part of it. And he's still going to do all that. So there's a lot to unpack there. But I do like that you pointed out that the detective has his area falling down as well. And then you kind of see these two paths, and one's good and one's not. And the outcome is evident.
So let's get to the end, because I can tell you my favorite part of this whole movie.
Okay.
Explain the end.
Go ahead.
So at the end, he goes into the house, and he realizes they're not there. He made a phone call. She knew he was close. And so she went out the back door and then came around the front. As he went in the front, her and the kid get away. And then he starts to remember and goes through. He's watching a video and he remembers that she loves the pier, which is right at the end of the street there. They live by the pier. So he goes and finds her. Luckily, the cop catches up. Robert Duvall catches up. And honestly, I really like the way they wrote that. It was not annoying. That's exactly the way you handle that kind of a situation where you've got someone a little on edge with a gun, and a kid involved. But long story short, they get to a point where a scuffle happens. Michael Douglas loses the gun, and he tells him, "I have a gun on me." And at this point, I'm like, not surprised. You stole a whole bag of guns from the gangsters, from the gang members an hour ago, so okay. And he says, let's do it basically an old style duel. And he starts counting, and the cop played along. I would have shot it too. I wouldn't have waited till one. I would have shot it too.
But he told him. He said, let's do an old timey duel. He said, I prefer not. He told him. He said he didn't want
to, but he did play along because he started counting. But I'm telling you right now, if it was me, I would have at 2. I would have did it. And I loved the fact that he got that water gun out and got him in the face with the water before the cop pulled trigger. Like, that was a really nice little touch at the end to go, he would have won.
You know what I like even more?
I mean, he would have went to jail at some point anyway, but he would have won that.
You know what I like even more about that scene?
And that shows that the cop needs to stop.
Well,
to me, that shows he needed to retire.
What I liked even more about that scene was when Robert Duvall's character comes up and he's talking. He's eating popcorn, which I'm sure you appreciated. But he's eating popcorn and he's talking, and he's walking around but kind of keeping his distance. And as he sees Michael Douglas's character turn his head, the wife is looking at him, and he flashes his gun.
I like that too. Like, hey, like, you're okay.
Yeah, he flashes his gun, so she knows that.
But even he gave the nod, like, kick the gun away.
Yeah.
Like, it was all done really well. And it wasn't... The thing is, those kind of parts can be written in a way that you're just like, that would never work. But I think they wrote it right. I think that they wrote it where it was... he had the training. It showed the training. But the squirt gun and the fact that he went like this, like, that was, to me, that was like, oh damn. Because you don't realize it. You just see, he pulled out a squirt gun. You don't really see the water. But him doing this lets you know, like, he would have won.
Yeah.
But I really do think that him also losing shows that it might be time to retire because you don't have the reaction time.
No, for sure. I mean, that I think he, not knowing what to expect in that moment, too, probably put a lot of things in perspective for him about, where he's at his age.
This is the end. I should go home.
Yeah. He probably was like, you know what? He had a lot to prove as well.
I did like how after the captain during the TV thing, fuck you.
Yeah.
That was good. You're out anyway. What are they going to do? Suspend you?
I don't think I've ever, I don't know, I can't tell you the movies that captain has been in, but every movie I've seen him in, I've detested and despised him as an actor. He's been in quite a few things.
I think that does suck. I think these guys get such in a spot.
Stereotype
you
role.
just see him, you just hate them. And that sucks because they could be great people.
Yeah.
Oh, I was trying to remember who he was. I remember who he was now. He played in Justified. He played Raylan Gibbons' dad in Justified.
Yeah! Fuck yeah! I totally remember that now.
Yeah.
Have you seen the newer Justified?
I didn't finish it.
I
wasn't
yet.
digging it.
Oh,
honestly.
I love Justified.
You know what it was missing?
Go ahead.
Walton Goggins.
Yep. I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming.
So, some fun facts about this movie. This movie got made because of Michael Douglas. The script was floating around Hollywood, and the guy who wrote it, no studio wanted it. And he was getting ready to take it back to cable networks to see if it could just be turned into a made-for-TV movie when Michael Douglas got a hold of the script. And he was basically said, we have to make this movie. So he attached himself to the script and reshopped it.
Okay.
He also took a pay cut in order to get the movie done because he believed in the script that much. So the reason this movie actually got made was because of Michael Douglas.
And I'm sure Robert Duvall jumped on because he knows him, and that because you wouldn't have got an actor like that if that were anything less. So.
Another thing that had happened was this movie was being filmed during the middle of the LA riots, to the point that they had to delay filming and move filming to the studio.
That is an interesting piece of history because we're talking the Rodney King
Yeah.
era. Everything that came out of that. There's so much music, so much frustration in our country. So much came out of that time frame. So
Who comes up with the last name Pendergrast?
is it Pendergast or Grast?
Gast.
Pendergast. I've heard that name before. Why do I know that?
Pendergast. That was the guy's last. That was the cop's last name. That was Duvall's last name.
Oh, that's right.
Like, that is a long, weird name. Like, to just make up a name for a movie.
The haircut and outfit that Michael Douglas wore, he picked it because he wanted to look like he was out of the 1950s. He wanted to look like a man out of time, basically. He said he wanted to look like a 1950s. What you would look at as a sitcom.
Which is eerily representative of a lot of people today.
Yeah.
And I say that because there's a lot of people who don't like new era, new age, digital future, all the stuff that's going on now. They can't get past a lot of the past events, 90s. Things are stuck in this tunnel. And I feel like that's a great call that he made, and it's kind of timeless to do that.
Yeah.
So,
he said he wanted to feel like a man out of time with how he was
because of his
presented.
his views and the way he was coming forward. Absolutely.
To add on to that, the not economically viable
Yes.
Guy, his outfit is identical to Michael Douglas's outfit.
But he was treated differently because of the color of his skin, which was a great thing to point out too.
The movie was banned in South Korea.
Wow.
It was banned in South Korea due to vigilante justice and
they don't want to give anybody ideas over there.
The South Korean representation of the guy from the little market.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Lee.
Yeah, Mr. Lee. They wasn't happy with how he was portrayed, and it was banned in South Korea.
Well, I can understand. I mean, the portrayal is whatever, but I can understand, especially in a country like North and South Korea with all the shit they have going on. I can understand wholeheartedly the why they chose that path, because that would give people, as you were saying, like those ideas and make people feel like they can rise above.
Yeah.
So.
And did you notice who directed this?
Yeah, the dumbass who fucked up Batman.
Well, there's different Batmans. What are we talking about? What you got?
The worst one.
Batman,
Clooney.
Robin, and Forever.
I didn't mind the Kilmer movie.
No, and I like Joel Schumacher because that's who directed it, and he's done
other great movies. It is out there that he apologized for how bad the Clooney Batman was. Clooney has apologized, said he should have never even played the part.
Yeah.
At some point, we will do an episode that is just fully not one Batman movie, all Batman encompassed. I feel like there's a lot to unpack there. I think that's a good conversation topic, and I'd love to.
He's getting excited.
Oh yeah,
he's getting excited of it. But
all right,
Joel Schumacher, he did the worst Batman films for sure. But he also did The Lost Boys. He did Flatliners. He did St. Elmo's Fire. He did St. Elmo's Fire.
All three of those are amazing films.
Yeah.
So Flatliners as
Phone
funny.
Booth.
Phone Booth. Yeah, he did Phone Booth. I enjoyed Phone Booth. Now, Phone Booth is a really dated film. If you watch it now, like it just because you don't even see a phone booth.
I've seen it. I don't remember it though. I think I need to see it again.
I see that, and there's few movies out at this point. They're the 911 callers, where somebody calls in and they're on the phone with somebody the whole movie. Those movies, I appreciate what they're trying to go for, but I can't get down with them. They frustrate me.
Phone Booth was one of the first ones, and I enjoyed it when it came out. Because Colin Farrell's in it, Kiefer Sutherland's in it. It was good. It's just
Colin Farrell's, depending on his role, he's either amazing or awful.
Yeah, he really is. You know what I did like him in? I like the remake of Fright Night.
I did too. I didn't mind
liked
that.
his version of Jerry the Vampire.
I would have loved to see more of those movies. Actually, I would have loved to see those continue on and get a fresh continuance.
They did do a part 2, but it was trash.
Yeah,
it was trash.
But I was a big fan when I was a kid of the Fright Night comics, and so I would like to almost see I'm a big fan of anything that goes into a series mode. I think that series can be what you want, and you have more exploration. You can do more with limited budget too. I just would like to see some of those things not get just tossed to the trash.
Alrighty, box office.
Hold on, I was still on phone booth. I was looking at it.
So I've got 2 different numbers on what this movie did.
What did you get? What did you get on budget?
You know, you already looked, didn't you?
I just happened to look down and saw a couple numbers. I don't know what's what.
What do you think the budget was?
I don't know, because I just saw your numbers. I could go 2 ways with this now.
Don't hurt yourself.
Budget, I'll say 60 mil.
60? No, 25.
What was I looking at? Yeah, so 40 and 96. What do we got there? Oh, that's your initial, and those are your.
This is what for the box office. I found 2 different numbers. I think Wikipedia says 96 million, but most of the time Wikipedia is off. And when I went to actual box office pages, it was saying 40 million. But then I went to another box office page and it said 96. So I'm not sure what the box office actually is.
It made money though. So
it made money.
That's the important part. So that's good. Ratings
3.82.
Okay. I've gotten used to your extra numbers now, so it's what it is.
I thought it was a good movie. It was a little slow at times. But I would definitely. It's not one I'm going to be like. It's not a movie where I go, "Hey Heather, do you want to watch this?" But if she came to me and said, "Hey, I want to watch this," I'd be like, "Okay."
It's a movie you can put on in the background and do other stuff.
And I don't do that with movies because I just want to watch. Like that's what Scrubs is for. I've seen every episode enough. I know what's happening just by hearing it. I know what's on TV, so I'm good. But no, but I did think it was a really, really good movie.
I'm gonna say 3.6.
Any context?
I mean, I've seen it a bunch, and I think
I like that you've seen it technically with 3 sets of eyes.
I have, and I think that's
like that.
why I'm landing at 3.6 because I think when I was a kid, I would have rated this more, and it's weird. I would have rated this at all different points. I think as a young kid when I watched it, or teenager when I watched it, because I was probably a teen when this came out. I might have said 2.8 or 3, and I think when I was in my 20s or early 30s when I watched it, I probably would have said this is a 4 or even more than a 4.
Yeah.
And I think today, looking at it from my eyes today, I feel like it's 3.6. It kind of fits in the middle for me because it hits some of those sensitive subjects that it makes it a little harder for me to watch today, even though I enjoy the movie.
Okay. For me, this movie hit so many realistic paths and chords, and especially now that I'm older. So my takeaway from this was a 3.9 CineNerds, 3.9 nerds, and I feel like this movie has held up through the test of time, and that's a big thing for me too. You've got a great story, you've got great casting, you've got great context in the movie. It's just delivered well. Oh no, what are you shaking your head at?
I agree with everything you're saying.
But what you read something you were shaking your head at?
I decided to see what Rotten Tomatoes said about this because I never agree with them.
Okay, so let's go to this is good.
I'm not these numbers I agree with. Then I did something else. Falling Down. Tomato meter 75%. It's actually for me. To me, that's a good number for them.
That's probably
for
fairly,
them. That's a good.
I'd
number.
go higher, but that's
Audience score was 84.
Okay, that's reasonable.
You know what? Just for the hell of it.
Uh-oh.
Please bear with me here 1 second. Waiting for the Wi-Fi. Slumberland was a 40 tomato, but 86 audience.
See, I would agree with Rotten Tomatoes on that one.
The Party Animal. This is why I was shaking my head. There's no score for the tomato meter. They're just like, no. Like, it's 0. There's nothing there.
They didn't review it.
Because it's not fucking worth it.
Does it have an audience score?
70%. And that's why I shook my head.
70%.
There's 70% of assholes
the
like
audience
him.
rated it higher than you, asshole.
You know what? But that is awesome. That is awesome, though. Because they can appreciate it, even though I appreciate it the way I appreciate it, that it is a crap movie. But it's an enjoyable crap movie.
I'm just happy that we both thought the same thing. What do you think Fat Man was?
I would say 50.
44 tomato, 84 audience.
Not the tomato sucks.
What was the one you just did? The Mist.
The Mist? Yeah.
That one would be rated high all the way around.
It better be, because it was a good movie. There it is. 73 tomato. Come on. There we go. 65 audience.
Really?
Wow. Audience didn't like it as much as...
I feel like there's two ways to take that.
I bet you that is people that read the books that did not like the movie.
It's two different elements that we discussed when we discussed The Mist. That religious woman probably pissed people off, and the scene with his son. I bet any money that people just did not receive that well, and that's why you got that.
As a whole, I like the movie. Good job.
Yeah.
You can still go fuck yourself from last week.
Oh. So to expand upon that, that's what I was going to say before he started talking about that.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I have to learn to dig deeper into JP's statements and understanding what he's saying. So next time he says it's 1,000 times worse,
he means worse.
He might mean it is actually worse, or he means like, yeah, that movie was awesome, but this one's even better, but it's worse, in a good, in a good way. I have to fucking dig with you now.
You gotta dig.
I'm gonna. It's gonna happen.
The fact that you own that movie, I've lost respect.
Yeah, no, hold on. So when he chose this movie,
you can't find it anywhere.
When he chose,
you can't even pay to rent it,
James. When he chose this movie, he ran up to me excited and happy to hand it to me, to loan it to me to watch. And he goes, here, I got a copy. You can take this and watch it. And he was smiling. And I didn't realize his smile was a setup. It was a lie.
My next one's not like that, though.
No, I agree.
want my $5 in gas that I had to go to his house and pick it up.
You know what? I'll give you $5 for that. But I know your car didn't spend $5 in gas to his house to get that movie. Really? You tell me how good gas mileage you get all the time.
I bet you.
Aren't your parents in North Homestead?
No, Brook Park.
Oh, right.
So hold on. Let me think about this. It's 15 minutes rest, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. It's probably about 22 miles, maybe? Yeah, it's 22 miles. I actually know it. I know it's 22 miles. So you would owe me for how much a gallon of gas is right now. We'll say $3.09 was what I got it the other day. About $2.50.
That was way too long of a breakdown.
But I also want interest. I had to watch the movie too.
I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting together some numbers, some analytics. I'm going to take averages of all of our ratings, and we're going to have if it's over 2.5 or it's below 2.5, it goes on a certain list. I think that's what we're going to do. It's going to happen.
To see what is rated the worst.
Yes,
or what's rated the best.
I can tell you right now what the worst was.
It's not Party Animal.
Yes, it was. You were at a 2-1-2, and I was at a -7.
You were the only thing that was going to save Party Animal, and you rated it at 2.1. And I'm going to go further than that. I rated it at a 2. He was originally going to rate it lower, he said. And he said he only went to 2.1 because I said 2. So
and I was a 0 anyway.
Off,
so you're what's 4.1 divided by 3? That's where that's at.
Yeah, that one's definitely going to be the bottom so far. I'm sure that between the three of us,
And I want it to be known
JP.
that I wasn't the .1. You were.
You can't. Yours was a 1.
Mine was.
You
what
can't
did
have
you,
yeah,
you
right.
said 0.82 or some shit, 3.82 for this movie for Falling
Not
Down.
on that one.
But
For once, I wasn't the point.
now we're going to the
Regardless, my next pick is not a shit movie, so
I actually agree. Now, I do like most of JP's choices. I do like most of James, too. But we definitely have some diversity happening here.
Ryan, where can I find us?
Falling Down?
Us.
Us?
Well, we might be falling down.
Falling
We're
Down.
all
So,
old.
so one thing I will point out is that, as we've talked about and mentioned before, we are going to be trying to make things more available or give you guys access, like tell you where to find and locate these movies to watch.
Falling Down,
So-
you can. The cheapest I've seen right now is
$2.99
$2.99.
on
I did
Prime.
it on Prime.
Yeah.
And there's one of the other ones had it
Yeah,
for
it's
$2.99,
like, I
but
think-
I wasn't doing it. I think Voodoo had it for $2.99,
Yeah.
but I just did Prime.
But us, you can find at 3cinenerds@gmail.com. That is our Gmail. And then further, you can go with... why did the screen just change? Anyways, further, if you go to our Facebook, you can check out our bio, and you'll see our link tree, which has all of the podcast platforms that you guys can stream us on. And it also has our merch store. So check us out and give us some feedback, please.
And JP, when are we doing it live?
February 25th.
We've talked about it 7 times. He's still had to think
Who
about
who
it.
will our guest be?
William Butler will be our guest Sunday, February 25th. You can look up his IMDb. You would know him from the Night of the Living Dead remake, Friday the 13th Part 7, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. He has some stuff coming up he wants to talk about, and we're going to talk about some of his past projects, and it's going to be a good night.
I'm excited as hell. So
Thank you for
this will be
picking a good movie this week.
Jesus. Shots fired.
We will see you next time, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
We are your CineNerds.
Later.